In this video, we'll give you 8 running backs that are overvalued in 2024 fantasy leagues. I'm Jim Coventry along with Anthony Cervino of RotoWire.
My first running back is going overvalued in fantasy football drafts, Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers. And I just can't stomach drafting Josh Jacobs. He's getting a lot of hype right now, new landing spot in Green Bay. But the issue with Green Bay is the LaFleur offense. LaFleur had Aaron Jones in his prime and still didn't give Aaron Jones a full workload. Jones would concede touches to Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon. And I get that they brought Jacobs in free agency, but they also re-signed A.J. Dillon and drafted one of the higher coveted rookie running backs coming out. So we could be looking at a 2 to 3 headed monster here. Now, Jacobs will still command his touches. He will still command his workload. But if you are drafting Jacobs thinking he's going to see value like he saw at the Raiders, I don't think it's happening. This is also an offense that is loaded with skill position players at wide receiver and at tight end. There's only so many touches to go around. So Josh Jacobs is my first running back that I think is being overdrafted and overvalued in fantasy football this year. Jim, who's your first running back?
Yes, Devon Achane is overvalued. Now, we all remember weeks 2 through 4 in 2023. The PPR points, 51, 27, and 23. Now, remember, the entire Dolphins offense was unstoppable at that time. It eventually got figured out. But even after those games, Achane missed 5 of 6 games between week 6 and week 12. Durability may be an issue. And it really seems as if the Dolphins won't use their 5'9", 188-pound back in a heavy volume role. Now, with the injuries, Achane came back in week 13. And at that point, the Dolphins had no longer possessed an offense the league couldn't stop. And in those last 7 games, including the playoffs, Achane rushed for 4.9 yards per carry. Now, that's good. 4.97 is very good, but it's not the 12 yards per carry he had in the 3-game stretch early in the season. And actually, Raheem Mostert rushed for 4.8 yards per carry, so you can make a case in the last 7 games, Mostert and Achane were similar backs. Also, the touchdowns dried up for Achane down the stretch, scored once in his last 6 games. I expect this to be a committee. I expect Achane to be a very good back, but never the back we saw early last season. He's being drafted as the RB10 for a player in a pretty strict timeshare. Running back 14 is probably as high as I can put him. Anthony?
Yeah, my next running back is James Cook. And James Cook in his rookie year, if you guys remember, he was outstanding in terms of efficiency. He was a number 2 running back on 2 yards per carry, a number 3 running back in yards per touch. Now, last year, he was still efficient. He was still 12th in 2 yards per carry and 5th in yards per touch. But as his workload increased, his efficiency decreased. He only scored 6 total touchdowns. This is a Bills offense that we do need to worry about Josh Allen. Josh Allen last year, this is an outlier. I don't think he's going to score another 15 rushing touchdowns, but he is still there to vulture some of those touchdown opportunities from James Cook. We also need to worry about Ray Davis, the incoming rookie rusher. This Buffalo team, year after year, they're telling us that they want an early down back. They want a short yardage back. They told us this last year with Damian Harris. They told us this that they kept giving touches to Latavius Murray, who was into his 30s. They even brought in Leonard Fournette and kicked the tires on him at the end of the year. That tells me they don't trust James Cook. And James Cook right now is being drafted as the 13th running back off the board. I can't do it, especially with Ray Davis waiting. I think Ray Davis, if he looks good, he's going to significantly cut into James Cook's early down workload. So, Jim, who is your next running back?
Yes, Rachaad White is overvalued. White had 336 touches last year. Honestly, there are very few NFL teams that want any running back on their roster to handle that type of workload. Even Derrick Henry has had his workloads managed as he's gotten a little older, but that's besides the point. It's very unlikely White sees that volume. Now, how does he lose a volume? Bucky Irving was drafted. May not be a great back, but if he is even serviceable Bucky Irving is going to see enough touches to drive White's volume down significantly. Could they bring somebody else in? Possible. Could there be somebody else on the roster that gives a little bit of a break to give White some rest? Because that's the thing. No running back remains efficient at the size White is with the workload he had. Now, last year, look, 64 receptions, 549 yards through the air, 9 total touchdowns. That pushed White into the elite scoring level. But as a runner, not good at all. 26th percentile in broken tackle rate, 33rd percentile after contact. Now, as a receiver, again, great. 84th percentile after the catch. They want to use him as a receiving back, but the team is going to get another runner in there. White's touches could fall into the 230 range. That would make him a middling RB2. Now, look, if Bucky Irving is a bust, okay, then I guess White has a chance to be a top 12 running back, but there is going to be some world where that volume cuts down. Anthony?
Yeah, my next running back is Austin Eckler, and I get it. He's cheap. He's going as the 38th running back off the board. I know this is Austin Eckler, has a lot of name value, but if you paid attention to Austin Eckler last year, he took a big-time step back. I get he dealt with injuries, and it was a bad football team, but this was the worst version of Austin Eckler that we've ever seen in his career. 3.5 yards per carry, by far a career low. Not that efficient as a pass catcher. He just looked a little bit slower. And now you add him into a Washington Commanders offense that, hey, this offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. He's known for the air raid, not the running raid offense. And they already have a pretty good running back that you can get right around the same price point of Austin Eckler in Brian Robinson. I'm not saying Austin Eckler isn't going to have some fantasy value. I think he'll have a little bit. But, this offense, Jaden Daniels is coming in. He comes highly touted for his rushing floor. So if we have Brian Robinson and Jaden Daniels getting that rushing hype, what is left for Austin Eckler outside of checkdown opportunities? If you look at the ADP, 38th running back off the board, he's going around guys like Chase Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, who does bring some touchdown upside, guys like Nick Chubb, and guys that Jim and I both love, like Kendre Miller, with a legitimate path to workload. I am not drafting Austin Eckler at his price point, and I'm probably not leaving a lot of drafts with him overall. Jim?
Yeah, my third overvalued running back is Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. Now look, Kamara was phenomenal for fantasy last year. Only played 13 games, goes for 1,160 scrimmage yards, 6 touchdowns, 75 receptions. He was fantasy gold last year. Now, the receptions were a little misleading. Derek Carr was just dumping off the ball to avoid pressure. Passes weren't designed to do a lot in terms of just getting it out of the quarterback's hands. Clint Kubiak is in to run the offense. A little improvement with the offensive line in the draft, a little more play action, try to keep pressure off of Carr. Kamara's volume is likely to drop. But the bigger problem for Kamara is what fantasy players didn't see was that he was not a good running back last year. 15th percentile in broken tackle rate. 27th percentile in yards after contact. This was a runner who dominated for years. Even after the catch, where Kamara's at his best, 24th percentile. Going into his age 29 season, another year older, that decline is going to continue. Kendre Miller has an excellent chance to cut into a lot of the work, and if Kamara's slide goes further than expected, it could be Miller's backfield before long. If you're betting on Kamara, you're betting on volume and that Miller doesn't crack the rotation. I don't see the volume coming for this declining player. Usually Kamara's going around running back 14. I have him outside my top 20. Anthony?
My final running back that's going overvalued is Trey Benson, outstanding rookie running back from the Arizona Cardinals. He is going as the 30th running back off the board, who I believe the top running back in this backfield still is James Conner, is going at the 27th running back off the board. And Conner, we know he's going to miss a couple of games, but he is coming off of one of his best seasons in the NFL. He is getting a little bit older, but he's also in a contract year. Usually in these situations, I like to project that this team's probably going to run this guy into the ground since they're not tied to him for any more time past 2024. This situation with Connor and Benson, I like to comp it out to the situation between Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, where last year Charbonnet was being overvalued and overdrafted, and it was Kenneth Walker's backfield. And when you did get to use Charbonnet in your lineups for any time Walker missed, he was a little bit underwhelming. So this is a similar situation with Trey Benson. If you're drafting him this high, you're banking on the handcuff rule being put into motion. You're banking on James Conner missing time. You're also banking on Trey Benson performing as an RB1 for those games missed. I cannot take him at his RB30 ADP with guys like Devin Singletary and Brian Robinson going right behind him. Jim, who's your last running back?
Yes, DeAndre Swift of the Chicago Bears. Now, Swift signed that 3-year deal in free agency a few minutes after free agency opened. Now, in 2023, Swift rushes for 1,049 yards. On the surface, it sounds impressive. Remember this. Swift had 2 big games in week 2 and 3. It was the Vikings and the Bucs he faced. The teams obviously were not prepared for him because the rest of the season, 14 games worth, behind an excellent Philly offensive line, with defenses having to deal with the passing attack, Swift rushed for just 4.02 yards per carry. Broken tackle rate, 48th percentile. Yards after contact, 49th. This is an average back. And also, when you watch film on Swift, he struggles with vision. He doesn't see gaps unfold at the second level, the third level, so he leaves big yardage on the field. Now, the Bears are talking about using Swift as a receiver, and he was very good in that role in Detroit. However, the Bears have 3 excellent wide receivers. They have a productive tight end. So how many passes will legitimately go to Swift? Also, if there are obvious passing downs, Caleb Williams is the franchise. Roschon Johnson needs the pass protect to keep their quarterback upright. They don't need a receiver on third down. They need a pass protector. So look, Swift is going around running back 19. I've got him 4 spots lower, and I could even go further than that. If you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings by getting a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed. Go to rotowire.com/Jim to see all of our content.